Thank you, Kyle, and to the Zama team for hosting us. Um, I'm going to make talking about government's databases fun and interesting. It's generally not a fun topic. Um, so this here is your average visa application form. And this is what some other forms look like, and they generally require the same information as you fill these things out. So basically, governments collect this information or institutions, and then it gets nested within respective databases. And the reason why bureaucracy exists outside of politics, it's literally like a database issue. It's because all of this information is in one registry, and then in order to be compliant, they need to go check these other registries to approve things. And so, in the crypto world, all we've been doing is literally solving database issues. We've been building shared databases for the last 15 years. We've been figuring out how to make data composable, verifiable, private, and interoperable. And so we're like at a very interesting point in time where we basically have all of the primitives to solve like one of the most annoying problems in the space, which is just like interacting with government services. And we thought we had a pretty good shot with Onchain City to take a jab at this. So you can think of Onchain City as like this gateway to access government services. So the main things, there's like visa, banking, business setup, and then we can scale to more. We're starting with the universally most annoying thing, which is like getting a visa. Generally, when you try to apply for a visa, they ask you for an arm and a leg. They ask you for like your passport. They need to see like proof of income, employment, etc. And so if we can solve for visas, then naturally like everything is downstream of that, and we can solve for it pretty easily. And how we're doing this is by trying to like abstract the user experience while embedding all of these primitives in the back end. So this is just like a simple interface where a user comes and put all of their information in that vault. That vault encrypts the information, and then whenever they're ready to do anything, it's just a one-click flow. In the first iteration of Onchain City, a lot of it will be like AI agents and whatnot. And just to like give you an idea of what that would look like, if someone wanted to apply for a visa, they would come, upload their information, and when they're ready, they can just, the AI agent accesses the vault, decrypts it, and runs it in a secure environment and applies for the visa. But we think like, okay, this is like 10x better than the current process, but the next step is like, how do you ensure like it's like very instant in terms of like getting the visa issued and then very secure? There's still like security trade-offs when it comes to running agents within certain environments. And we think this is where FHE plays a huge role. So we've kind of designed a flow of what that might actually look like. And it requires like working with certain stakeholders. So thanks to our friends at Prooful, we were able to like just design a workflow with FHE implemented end to end. So if an individual wanted to apply for the visa, it would come here, it would access their encrypted information. And then on the government side, they set a bunch of constraints and they just validate the information. And if that information is valid, they just issue the visa right there and then, which like it seems like, okay, it's pretty cool, but the amount of things that need to happen to make this possible, it's like just a huge unlock for just governments in general. And we think this is like a very critical workflow that people need to start thinking about as you build new systems. We can redesign like government systems, but you need to think about privacy at the beginning of it. Because if you think about it at the end of it, it becomes way harder. It's kind of like renovating a house. Like it's easier to build a house from scratch than it is to renovate it. Um, Going back to this, this is a contextual graph that exists within Onchain City and something that's pretty important. Every time you do something within Onchain City, a proof is created. And so over time, like an individual can create just like this programmable live graph that has valid information. And we know that it's valid proofs because they were issued these visas within Onchain City. We're also teaming up with other partners to make this open source, including the Base ecosystem and Coinbase, because they have verified information in your Coinbase account. So if that's part of your graph, then you technically don't need to go and redo compliance over again. And so we see this graph becoming like a core part of compliance, like on-chain compliance as we move forward. And it's my favorite part. It's the end game. We ask the question, what happens when your on-chain state becomes a better representation of you than your actual passport? You know, like right now, your passport has a set of embedded information. It has your name, like your passport numbers, and it's there so that they can check you against other records. But that is like very suboptimal, and it's why we have bureaucracy, and there's better ways of doing so. And we think a step to get in there is to have graphs, open source graphs. And we will actually be doing a tiny merch at some point. So scan this QR code and join the Telegram chat because we'll be making like, I guess a souvenir of an embedded passport, which is like your context graph. And I'll post a link in the Telegram channel. Yeah, that's it.